It might seem like a shocking story. A man made an offensive tweet about Sir Tom Moore, and he's been arrested. I mean, that's the gist of the story. But it's not the first time we've heard this. It's not the second time we've heard this. It's not the third time we've heard this. No, we hear this all the time. I mean, this is in the UK, and someone has been arrested for naughty words. In the US, we have something different. We have the outsourcing of life destruction by journalists who will smear you, who will take things out of context, and grifters who make money doing it. And you know the challenge I face in this segment is, I can tell you what happened. And I will. There's some updates. We have an article from Glenn Greenwald talking about these journalists who built careers just being tattletales. And then we have stories like this, which probably will shock many of you. And I think that's why it's important we talk about it. But for me, it's like someone slowly putting a drill to my temple and then just having it on the lowest power setting slowly drill in. I don't know how much I can keep talking about the same thing and proposing that people speak up because it just keeps happening. Maybe the solution needs to be people just don't spend money with anyone who advertises on any of these platforms. But I'm not convinced that's actually going to change anything either. Most people, I think, don't care. So when we see these private companies fund journalists who seek to destroy people's lives, then, I mean, people will still shop with them and there will be no net negative impact from any of these companies. In the UK, however, what do you do when you have a society that wants people to go to jail for being mean? Now, I'll tell you this. I hate mean people on Twitter. I hate Twitter. Twitter is such a disgusting platform. And it's because of Twitter that these journalists in the US, the Tattletale journalists, even have a platform. Because who's going to click on the 800th look at what this naughty person said article? But on Twitter, it quickly gets retweets. Then they put up their link to their Patreon or their PayPal me or whatever, and they make money doing it. In the UK, you just live in a country that wants people to be in prison. Now, this is this story is substantially more important. And I tell you the story about the offensive tweet because we need to, at least in the US, make sure we don't get to this point, but I fear we may be getting close to it. There have been numerous stories about people in the US who have been arrested for posting rap lyrics because there are rap lyrics that are offensive and can border on the criminal. So it's happened. And then you take a look at just general, what's the best way to put it? Special provisions granted to those in power. You know, if I make comments about certain adult activities, even in a news or academic sense, well, YouTube will say, we're not going to ban you for it, but we will restrict and demonetize your content. Meanwhile, WAP is a trending song on YouTube and the video is totally allowed. You see the double standard. I don't want to end up like the UK, my friends, which is why I think we should talk about this story. From The Sun, they say, a Glasgow man has been charged with allegedly sending an offensive tweet after Sir Tom Moore's death. The man, 35, was arrested by cops in connection with the vile slur against the war hero on social media. Now, I'll say this. Sir Tom Moore died after his battle with COVID. It's sad. Dude was really old. Seems like a legit dude. And he's a war hero. I wonder if he fought those wars so that people would not have the right to speak their opinions. I really don't think so. They say Captain Tom passed away on Tuesday, February 2nd, after a battle with COVID. The Second World War veteran raised more than $33 million for NHS charities together by walking 100 laps of his garden before his 100th birthday. He received a knighthood from the Queen in her first face-to-face engagement since lockdown in 2020 for his heroic efforts. National hero Captain Tom's death united the UK in mourning with a clap for Tom arranged to honor his incredible charity work and the pandemic. But a Twitter post mocking his death was probed by Scots cops after being reported last week. The man arrested will appear at Lanark Sheriff Court on Wednesday, February 17th. A police Scotland spokesperson said on Friday, the 5th of February, 2021, we received a report of an offensive tweet about Sir Captain Tom Moore, who died on Tuesday, 2 February. A 35-year-old man has subsequently been arrested and charged in connection with communication offenses and is due to appear at Lanark Sheriff Court on Wednesday, the 17th of February. Captain Tom's heartbroken family confirmed he had tragically passed away in a touching statement. You get the point. I don't understand how people in the UK tolerate that behavior. I don't understand how it's just been years and this is only getting worse. And I'm not entirely convinced I know exactly what to do. But I can tell you it is quite demoralizing to be sitting here reading the news and constantly hearing the same things over and over again. Nothing changes. It only gets worse. So what do? Glenn Greenwald writes this. The journalistic tattletale and censorship industry suffers several well-deserved blows. The New York Times' Taylor Lorenz falsely accuses a tech investor of using a slur after spending months trying to infiltrate and monitor a new app that allows free conversation. Well, I'll put it this way. I don't think Taylor Lorenz is all that bad. And I was kind of bummed to see that, Glenn Greenwald, he's criticizing her. And I think it's fair to criticize her. But it's just everybody's so, I don't know what's the right word, I guess harsh. There are a lot of really bad journalists. I think Taylor Lorenz has done mostly fine work. I say fine because I'm not going to pretend like, she's like the greatest journalist in the world or anything. But Taylor writes, articles about pop culture and Reddit. And I've read through some of it. And I've even DM'd with her saying like, hey, here's a heads up on certain things. And she takes into consideration in good faith. And I respect her for it. Doesn't mean she's perfect, and it means she'll probably fall into some pit traps that everybody falls into, and not everybody's correct. In this instance, she claimed that Mark Andreessen said the dreaded R word. That's right, my friends, the R word. You can't say it. I honestly don't know if you can say it on YouTube, and my understanding is that you cannot. So I guess for the sake of getting as many people as possible to watch this video, as I mentioned with the WAP video, you'll see. We'll get into it, right? Taylor was wrong. Someone else said the dreaded R word. And Glenn Greenwald says she lied. And instead of apologizing, she just locked her account down. I think Taylor should have apologized. I think she should have issued a correction and said, I was wrong. I was mistaken. It was someone else. My understanding is she didn't do that. She said it was clarified by someone else. And so she could have done a little bit better job. But, look, there are people who dedicate their entire time at these media companies to being fake tattletales. And this new Clubhouse app is the perfect place for these journalists, as Glenn Greenwald notes. It's semi-private. That means journalists can get in there. Most people won't know what was said, and then they can just take things out of context and smear you to make you look bad. It's demoralizing. I'm a big fan of Star Trek. And I love The Next Generation. Deep Space Nine is cool. Voyager is all right. But The Next Generation really was incredible. This idea of a future where we have replicators and we travel the galaxy, seeking out new life and new civilizations. It's inspiring. And then I see where we really are. And you know where we are? Just people smack talking each other online, having flame wars. War is still prevalent. The media still lies. And it seems like no matter what the good people try to do, humans just are. And that's the pessimistic, demoralizing aspect of everything that's going on. That no matter what you do, there's evil people in this world that want to destroy. They don't care about the honesty of a conversation. They don't care about the intent of a conversation. They just want you to suffer. And I wonder sometimes, they say every action has an equal and opposite reaction. And I wonder if that's the case. For every person that's trying to have an honest conversation in a real effort to solve these problems, there is another evil person who knows they can manipulate that attempt and turn it into something evil for the sake of personal gain. And if that's the case, then maybe there is no path forward. There is no real way to get to that Star Trek future, except, of course, maybe better living through technology. I'm not entirely sure. But let's take a look at what Glenn Greenwald writes. And he says, a new and rapidly growing journalistic beat has arisen over the last several years that can best be described as an unholy mix of junior high hall monitor tattling and Stasi-like citizen surveillance. It is half adolescent and half malevolent. Its primary objectives are control, censorship, and the destruction of reputation for fun and power. Though its epicenter is the largest corporate media outlets, it is the very antithesis of journalism. He goes on to mention that he's written before. Oh, geez. CNN. He says teams of journalists at three of the most influential corporate media outlets, CNN's media reporters, he puts them in quotes, Brian Stelter and Oliver Darcy, NBC's disinformation space unit, Ben Collins and Brandon Zadrozny, and the tech reporters of the New York Times, Mike Isaac, Kevin Roose, and Shira Frenkel, devote the bulk of their journalism to searching for online spaces where they believe speech and conduct rules are being violated, flagging them, and then pleading that punitive action be taken, banning censorship, content regulation, after-school detention. These hall monitor reporters are a major factor explaining why tech monopolies, which, for reasons of self-interest and ideology, never wanted the responsibility to censor, now do so with abandon and seemingly arbitrary blunt force. They are shamed by the world's loudest media companies when they do not. And this is the very real and serious result of news organizations facing two problems: competition and a need to pander to an audience. Now, the New York Times, CNN, and NBC are scared that channels like mine and Substack, for instance, are going to destroy their businesses. And it's true, they are. Recently, they've been coming after podcasts on iTunes, saying, iTunes, why won't you ban these people? And iTunes says, because we're not hosting them. We just list an RSS feed. It's just, they're there on the net, and we show you a directory. It's like, ban the phone book because one of the people in it are bad. What are you going to do? It's a directory. But it's true. Kevin Roose, as mentioned here, and Mike Isaac. I don't know anything about Shira Frenkel for the most part, but I can tell you that they've played fast and loose at the very least. I'll tell you something really interesting about this. When I worked at Fusion, I noticed an article written by Mike Isaac, and I could be wrong about this. It's been a long time, but I believe, to the best of my ability, it was Mike Isaac. And if I'm wrong, I will absolutely correct. But Mike Isaac wrote a story. It was a news story, and it was only a few short words. It was about Reddit CEO. Overnight, the article changed to an op-ed about feminism in Silicon Valley. That is a major violation of journalistic ethics. But apparently, as Kevin Roose noted to me, because he worked at Fusion, it was normal for these companies to alter their articles overnight, over 80% of the article, turning fact-based stories into opinion pieces, unbeknownst to those who may have been sharing the story. You see how that's a Trojan horse. Someone says, dog does backflip. And I say, that's an interesting story. And I share it. And everybody shares it. And then as soon as everybody shares it, you change it to dogs are evil because they do backflips. Now you've got a whole bunch of people who inadvertently pushed a political opinion they may not have agreed with. Well, Kevin Roose was the one who said to me not to cover the story because they did it too. Surprise, surprise. He now worked at the New York Times, and it appears in a similar fashion to Mike Isaac. Well, that's no surprise to me. Oliver Darcy and Brian Stelter, of course, put out fake news all day, every day, often lying or just flat out being wrong while trying to get other people banned. Glenn points out, the NSA is obsessed with ensuring there will be no place on Earth where humans can communicate free of their spying eyes and ears. These journalistic hall monitors cannot abide by the idea that there can be any place on the planet where people are free to speak in ways they do not approve. Like some creepy informant for a state security apparatus, they spend their days trolling the depths of chat rooms and 4chan bulletin boards and subreddit threads and private communications apps to find anyone, influential or obscure, who is saying something they believe should be forbidden, and then use the corporate megaphones they did not build and could not have built, but have been handed in order to silence and destroy anyone who dissents from the orthodoxies of their corporate managers or challenges their information hegemony. Oliver Darcy has built his CNN career by sitting around with Brian Stelter, petulantly pointing to people, breaking the rules on social media and demanding tech executives make the rule breakers disappear. The little crew of Tattletale millennials assembled by NBC who refer to their twerpy work as a self-glorifying title of working in the disinformation space, as intrepid and hazardous as exposing corruption by repressive regimes or reporting from any war zones, spend their dreary days scrolling through 4chan boards to expose the offensive memes and bad words used by transgressive adolescents. They then pat themselves on the back for confronting dangerous power centers, even when it is nothing more trivial and bullying than doxing the identities of powerless, obscure citizens. And CNN's done it. They doxed some warehouse worker. And there was even the instance where CNN said that they had the information on a meme maker, and if he agreed not to insult them again, they wouldn't release his private information. They're creepy people, man. Look, I see more and more stories like this. I see more and more tweets. I saw earlier people are tweeting about Jen Psaki, the White House press secretary, and her appearance. And I'm just looking at all of this like, is this what people really want? I am so sick to my stomach of this. Why? Conservatives. Now many Trump supporters, again, not every single one of them, and many leftists who engage in similar behavior, they would insult and berate Kayleigh McEnany for stupid garbage nonsense. And now we're seeing much of the same thing with Jen Psaki. And I know people are going to say, they're going to be like, surprise, surprise. The tribes do the same thing. I know. Where's the principle? Where's those who are dedicated to actually some kind of actual meaningful existence? Social media was supposed to be this great tool that was going to save us. Instead, it's turned into this really awful place where awful people say awful things, and that's all it's become. Negativity. I saw a post, shout out to YouTube channel Amanda the Jedi, totally cultural content, nothing to do with politics, movie reviews, and great channel, by the way. She put up a post, and I don't necessarily know what her intent was, and this may be the intent, but it was a list of her top performing videos. And there were two videos in question. One of them was the worst videos of, that she's watched. And one of them was the best videos that she's watched. And sure enough, the worst videos greatly outranked the best videos. To put it simply, she made two videos, probably not as some kind of experiment, like just literally made videos she thought would be relevant. And one was titled the best videos and one was the worst videos. More people want to watch the worst videos than they do the best videos. Now, why is that? What about the internet is resulting in people just turning into these freaky, hate-filled people? Again, I want to clarify, like Amanda's channel is fantastic. It's just, you watch videos about her opinions on movies, games, and culture, and it's very relaxing to say the least. And, I think it's funny that I'm saying that because I used to be the guy that was screaming people wasted too much time on pop culture. Now I'm like, that's the kind of channel you got to subscribe to. Shout out. Just where you can watch reviews of movies, I guess. And a lot of people do. A lot of people watch video games. A lot of people watch movies. But we have something happening because of Twitter where the most serious of our information, which is supposed to be talking about conflict in Yemen and the troops in Syria and the censorship that's going to be affecting our lives, it's breeding into the suppression and repression of individuals. It's leading to people who dedicate their lives to just trying to destroy because they hate so much. And it sucks. I think these individuals who work for these companies should be allowed to say what they want to say. I just disagree with them. Of course, the problem is then I give them the leeway to go and claim that I should be banned or lie about me, and then they actually negatively impact my channel. Why? To put it simply, as I mentioned in my earlier segment about the Super Bowl, when Fiverr, for instance, comes out and mocks Trump supporters will complain, but many of them will still use the service because the left screams, because leftists scream, because they have gotten jobs in mainstream media, and because they scream, brands follow suit. And because many of these brands are these, young people, and because they are in New York City and they all live in similar places, you end up with a lot of the same ideas rippling across news media and digital marketing. Conservatives have money. They spend a lot of money. That's 75 million people. But they're not organized. They're going to keep spending money. They do not organize. Look, when the left says don't shop here and then people stop shopping there, it has an impact. But what happens when the right doesn't do it and there's no impact? Then all you're telling these big brands is, look, if the New York Times says it, we have to do it. YouTube bans a lot of people, and it's the biggest mistake they could make. YouTube puts CNN on the front page. Why? I can't wait for this to be over. I can't wait for it. You know what it is? I blame Gen Xers and I blame baby boomers who work in marketing. And what happens is CNN runs a fake story. NBC runs a fake story. And then these media buyers who are just dumb, they go, oh no, I don't want to advertise on YouTube now. And then YouTube says, well, there's no point in talking to the advertisers. CNN said a naughty word. Who cares? Their ratings are in the gutter. Don't get me wrong, their ratings were doing well. But since Trump left, their ratings are collapsing. They were collapsing before. Now Jeff Zucker's leaving. Stop listening to these people. But I'll tell you this, so long as conservatives, moderates, people in this space keep giving money to companies that bend the knee to these psychopaths, it will just keep happening. So stop. Buy something else. Do something else. Let me just say the point of all this. A guy got arrested in the UK. Okay. And I saw that and I'm just like, what else is new, man? It's kind of, I'm not trying to be too pessimistic. But remember that story from years ago, the lady who insulted a trans person and then got arrested for it? It happened twice. Now a guy mocked a veteran and he got arrested. He might go to jail. You have these journalists in the United States. We're not going to get arrested for it. But they will lie, cheat, and steal to destroy you. That's what they do because they are evil. This video is going to be over 20 minutes long. And what they'll do is they'll take 30 seconds from it, they'll mash words together, and then desperately try to make money doing it. You have to ask yourself about the YouTube channels you watch. Are you watching a YouTube channel that targets the individual or targets the idea? Are you watching YouTube channels where someone says, so-and-so is a moron? Or you're watching the YouTube videos where they say, this thing our society is doing are problems? There's a balance, I suppose. And I'm not going to sit here and pretend like I'm perfect. I wouldn't be that presumptuous, egotistical, or stupid. I probably have a ton of videos where I call out individuals. Absolutely. I have tons of videos calling out AOC. The issue with AOC, in my opinion, was when AOC first came out and lied, I said, I'm not covering her story. She's allowed to feel the way she wants to feel. And I don't care about the drama. Then it turned out she was lying to people. And then I got mad. That's a manipulation. My issue is, are you looking at people who will go after culture war tribal targets? Or are they talking about top level political individuals and systems and commenting on ideas and the structure of it all? I'm not going to pretend like you should ignore people. You know, I said before, maybe I was a little bit wrong to say we should outright ignore AOC because when she lies, she rallies people to believe bad things. And there are many people who say the similar things about me. That is fine. You know what I mean? When I refer to the grifters who pull things out of context, I'm not referring about somebody who has a legitimate criticism of me or anybody else. I'm talking about those that would purposefully misframe a conversation in an effort to just make money on Patreon or PayPal. And that's what's being built. These people work for these companies, the New York Times, etc. There is money to be made in being tattletales. I'm sick of it. He goes on a rag. Glenn Greenwald calls out Taylor Lorenz, and I think she should have issued a correction. She, try and block me now, P. Marca, and then it's crazy that she would do this. Look, I'll criticize Taylor Lorenz, but I want to make sure I'm doing it in a way where I'm trying not to make everyone mad. So there have been instances in the past where I've actually defended Taylor Lorenz from people who are mad at her. And in this instance, I believe she does deserve criticism. And that's about it. If we can't have honest conversations and if we can't offer up olive branches and we always just go for the throat, it's just becoming, intolerable. What do we want to get out of this? Should I sit here every day and say that same thing that happened 4 years ago, it happens again? Nothing's changed. Don't you already know what happens? I suppose it's important to know that this one specific thing happened. A guy got arrested. People are lying on the internet. But it's just the same story over and over again. Some people have messaged me saying, Tim, you have to tell these stories because we need to know they're happening. And I'm like, I agree. No, don't get me wrong. That's why I'll talk about it. But at a certain point, I think people are just addicted to being bad people. I think the problem is Twitter as a whole. I think Jack Dorsey and Vijay gotta know this. And I think they don't care. They could snap their fingers and stop it. Simple things like getting rid of the retweet counter so people don't see how many retweets something has. Getting rid of the comment counter or getting rid of follower counts. But they like the negative whirlwind they've created. It makes them money and they won't back away from it. Whatever, man. I don't know. I don't. I do know that one of our goals is going to be building culture. We're going to be talking about space technology and more interesting things and try and make sure we're pushing back on this kind of stuff because we have to, but also focusing on different things that might be more interesting and inspiring. My next segment's coming up at 4 p.m. over at youtube.com/Timcast. Thanks for hanging out, and I will see you all then.